I wanted to talk through in a bit more detail how to find the community channels that are going to be most relevant to you. As I've already showed in one of the other introductory videos, the registration process is set up to get you added to the channels that are likely to be more useful, but you can join and leave and mute different channels, in a much more like granular ways. So that's what I wanted to walk through. The first thing that I might suggest folks do is actually collapse all of these sections because it helps give you an overview of the different types of community channels. If you've clicked on one, it kind of stays there. I don't want that. So let me just click on something else up here. Okay. So you'll see the major categories: resources and support, general, local communities, employer, and profession. Or we could also call this industry. So that's how channels are organized. So I think it's helpful just to have that bigger picture in your mind. And if you want to get a comprehensive list of all of the channels and see which ones you're a part of and which ones you're not, and how you could join them, here at the top, click on channels and roles. And you can actually see the answers to the questions that you filled out when you joined. Alternatively, you can go over here where it says browse channels, and this is going to be the most helpful to give you a sense of the overall community, what you're a part of and what you're not. So here on kind of the middle left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the names of all the different communities in each category, and on the right-hand side, you'll see checkboxes that show whether or not you are a member of those channels. And you'll see that you can select follow category, and if you select that, then you'll get updates whenever anybody posts in any of the channels in those categories, is what I believe that does. I haven't actually messed with that feature yet, but figured I'd at least call that out. And so if I scroll down, what you'll see is that as I come down here to local communities, for example, there are other regions of the country that I did not select when I signed up. So you can easily add yourself to those by selecting the checkboxes over here. Next, when we look at the employer category, for example, as you'll recall, you might have selected federal government and government contractors, as I did with this test account. But again, you can get yourself added to these other channels. And then lastly, when it comes to kind of your professional or your industry background, as indicated, I was not added to any trade channels, construction, electricians, or what have you. And so if those are relevant for you, then you can add yourself back in. So hopefully that gives you a better sense of the overall scope of all of the different channels that are available. If I go back over here and get into one of these channels, I'll expand all of these back out. I wanted to show you a couple more things. So we'll go over here to resources, I guess. Let's say there's a lot of noise in the random channel and you want to keep it available, but you don't want to have to worry about all the constant chatter in this channel. You can right click mute channel and you can do it for certain amounts of time or until you turn it back on. So you're still part of the channel. You can poke your head in the door, but you're not going to see it light up with notifications when there's new conversation within that channel. So that's probably the most relevant. You can also modify your notification settings, and that is another way to control how much noise there is in terms of constantly being updated when there's chatter. And then lastly, you could remove entirely from channel list if you don't want to be a part of that channel anymore. I also wanted to point something out that you may have noticed. Some of these channels have this hashtag, and some of them have this little speech bubble. And the difference is that these are what are called text channels, and these are what are called forum channels. And the difference is that forum channels are a bit like a choose your own adventure. And what that means is if I click in Northwest, for example, what I don't see cluttered here on the left-hand side are all of the different forum posts, I think is the technical term. These are like all of these kind of sub channels, if you want to think of it that way, or sub conversations. So it's a nice feature where your main screen doesn't get cluttered, but you have access to all of these. And so when I say choose your own adventure, you can create your own post, you can search for your own post, and you can even filter based off of these tags that I've already set up. And so one of the intentions with local communities is to have these tags set up to help folks with, there's going to be folks that are laid off from their jobs that have challenges when it comes to basic needs, healthcare, childcare, housing, unemployment, things like that. And those are needs that are best met at a local level, which is why I set it up this way. You're not going to find many national resources to address a lot of these, so they're really best met locally. So if you click on these different tags, that's one way to filter to see the different conversations at a local level. You can also see that folks have started these conversations with different titles. So people might schedule in-person meetups in New York City to help, collaborate with job meetups, to discuss job opportunities, work on resumes together in real life, interview practice, what have you. And then, you can set up any conversation you like. So if you don't see a conversation for your particular town or city or county or metropolitan area, then you can easily create your own. Again, just make sure that it's grouped at the right region of the country. So here you can select on new post. I'm originally from New Mexico, from Albuquerque, so I could do something like that. And I might also want to do job meetups. Oops. And that doesn't make sense because we're in the Northwest region, right? I would want to go to the Southwest region. So maybe instead I'm doing Seattle. There we go. Seattle, Washington, job meetups. So I'll select the job meetups tag, local jobs. Maybe we can discuss how to register with unemployment in the state of Washington and discuss other resources as well. Welcome everyone from Seattle who wants to meet up in person to discuss job opportunities. And then you can post and it'll create that conversation. And again, it doesn't clutter up anything here on the left-hand side. You can see that post that you just created since you're a member of it. So as you join these different forum posts, they will then kind of start to populate down here. The last thing I wanted to do is to talk through some of these channels in a bit more detail. A lot of these I've discussed already, so I'll keep it high level, but just want to make sure you're familiar with what's available. First is the frequently asked questions. Again, I'm sure that I can improve this. It's a bit of an eyesore with all of this text. So this is probably going to change at some point, but at least it's a starting point. It's read only, so if you think that additional questions and answers should be added here, let me know in the wish list channel. That's a good one to talk about. Here I kind of describe the intention of the channel. So if there's anything that you want to see different in how the community operates, this would be the place to post it. I'll jump back up here to resources. I've discussed these already. This is also read only. Most helpful resources will be captured in this spreadsheet, which I've already introduced in another intro video. So this is unlikely to change very much. If you have questions for the community at large that don't make sense in a more targeted channel, you can ask them here. If you have something to offer, this would be the place to chime in. You might have particular expertise or knowledge or other resources, really anything and everything that you think could be helpful to the community, drop it in here. And if it's a resource that should be populated in the community resources spreadsheet, I'll make sure to do that. If it's an idea on a webinar and maybe you're qualified to deliver that webinar or somebody in your network is, mention that here as well. And one of the admins, could be myself, could be another one, will chime in and try to get those scheduled. So this is the best place to collaborate for helping the community at large. There's a tech support channel. This is really just for any questions about how to use Discord. And like I said, wish list is where people can chime in and share feedback on what they want to see different. So if you want to see a new channel here in Discord, this would be the place to ask for it. Here in terms of general, these are all high level announcements. There's an introductions channel, which I've already mentioned, so chime in there and introduce yourself. There's a celebrate channel. I want to make sure people who are in career transition, as they find new jobs, they have an opportunity to celebrate that with the community. There's a channel called venting. A lot of us have a lot of intense emotion when it comes to things like layoffs, so venting would be the place to just to blow off a bit of steam. There's a memes channel that I hope gets a decent amount of traction. I'm not super excited about the Department of Government Efficiency, like most of us, and so I think the Doge meme needs to be reclaimed, so I've started with that. There's a random channel for anything and everything. News, especially when it comes to things related to layoffs, drop those in here. It may be a way that we can help kind of crowdsource invitations to companies that are doing a large amount of layoffs. One example would be Intel is just in the news. Apparently they're going to lay off thousands of people. So this would be a place to kind of drop that article. And then if anybody in the community knows folks at Intel, they can then start reaching out and get them invited. There's an events channel, more to come here, but these are the first 4 webinars that I plan on delivering. I will be delivering one, I will be partnering on another, and I have folks delivering 2 more. There's more to come on these. The names might change, the dates and times might change, but I have something in there at least to start. And then lastly, this is the job opportunities channel. In reality, this is kind of a catch-all. This should not be the place that you start. And this is really meant for folks like recruiters or people at companies that have open roles at their company that they want to share. This is a place to drop them if you don't find a better channel. And I'm totally fine with cross-posting into this channel. But in reality, job opportunities should be shared in one of these channels that are most relevant. So most likely either in a local community, if it's an in-person job, that would be the best place to post. And then maybe cross-post in one of the profession channels. So if you know of a marketing role, for example, in Seattle, then you would want to post that in the marketing channel and in the Seattle channel. That's the best way that I've come up with so far to socialize opportunities with the right people in the right contexts without making too much noise like you see on LinkedIn, for example. So hopefully that's helpful. The last thing I'll mention is that when it comes to employers, it's set up also with these forum channels, similar to local communities. So rather than creating a text channel for every company under the sun, what I've done instead is added these forum channels. So government contractors, for example. I have one just for Accenture because they did some layoffs. They're a consulting company if you're not familiar with them. And again, the goal is that if you are searching for or creating a new post for government contractor companies, they should be related to tags associated with the federal department that your particular previous employer is associated with. So here above, all these different tags are the top level federal departments. So hopefully that's all helpful. I realize it's a lot of information, but hopefully it'll make a big difference in how this community operates moving forward.